connecting the unconnected. And we have a moderator, as with all the panel discussions. This morning it's Derrick, who's the head of research and communications in the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. A very good morning to you, Derrick.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, so I intend to, as usual, to make this very interesting and practical as much as possible. I see one of my very good friends walking. Welcome, Valerie. I was coming in from another meeting, and I thought, I was thinking, I usually like to pick up ideas of what I would like us to, what kind of conversation I would like us to have. So thankfully, I see we have someone close to policy on the panel, and then very two practical doers, people I call doers within the tech space, also on the panel. I work at the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, and that's an industry association for mobile operators and telecom infrastructure companies in Ghana. So one of the critical things when we talk about infrastructure in Ghana and also how we can connect the people, there's always a gap. We always say all the nice things. I've always said, you see me talking on different panels, I talk about the fact that we say all the nice things, all the good things, but usually they tend to be paradox. You hear them like paradox, like it's almost like, yes, we want to empower people, telecoms is a utility, we need to get everybody online, but on the other hand, either we're taxing them wrongly, or you're seeing the tax bracket and you're seeing telecoms, and it being on the internet, basically the cost input there is almost the same as alcohol and tobacco. That's a tax bracket. And so I asked myself, how can you tax them just like alcohol and tobacco, which are luxury goods, and then we say we want to give it to everybody because it's a utility, it's an enabler, it supports everybody. So there's always that disconnect. So I try as much as possible to have practical conversations, and I'm excited. I have people who work within the tech space, so that when we talk about what government needs to do, we can also talk about what the private sector or what people within the space, or startups, young developers, tech hubs, what are we doing to be able to put in the right systems in place to get people use them, so that I like saying the internet is not Facebook and WhatsApp. It's not. It's not Facebook, it's not WhatsApp. There's so much out there that we could do that we're doing right now. And I'm going to use this conversation in the next few minutes to have these practical conversations, and I hope you can join us. So I have Zakaria, who is from GIFEC. I'm going to just give you all a minute and a half to tell us what you do and how what you're doing connects the unconnected. So I'm going to start with you, Zakaria.
Thank you very much. Good morning. As it's been said, my name is Zakaria Yahya Osman. I work with GIFEC. GIFEC is an agency under the Ministry of Communication. The full name is Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication. GIFEC is not an investment fund in the true sense of the word. It's what we call a universal service fund. In Ghana and all over the world, there are millions of communities like the community of teachers appear. There are situations like that in the area, in the whole spectrum of ICT. And so in Ghana, this fund was launched about 10 years ago to mobilize financial resources from the licensed mobile network operators, use the money to implement programs and policies to extend ICT to areas that are underserved and areas that are unserved at all. And so that is where I work. And so GIFEC over the years has done a lot of work in extending ICT in terms of ICT infrastructure, computers and internet and telecommunication services. If you set up an ICT center, you put computers there and you don't add content, it's also not good. So we also do some content, we add content to that. We also do a lot of capacity building. If you put all this infrastructure in place and you don't have people with the skill to use them, it's as good as nothing. And if you also put them there, you need to stimulate patronage. So that is an area that we are looking at. We have also identified that now that the economy is going digital, there are areas in a country where people do not have access to financial platforms, they don't have accounts, they don't. So we also partner companies to extend fintech services into those communities. So in a nutshell, this is just a little I can say about GIFEC and what we do.
All right, thank you very much, Zakaria. There was one key thing I wanted you to add, which usually you don't, and I always would chip it in when you're there. He knows he's smiling. So GIFEC is a government agency, and it's funded, I think, mostly by the telecom operators, who give 1% of their top line revenue annual into the operations of GIFEC, so they can use it to do deployments, particularly in areas that the operators do not find commercially viable, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that maybe you were busy somewhere. I did acknowledge that by saying the fund was set up to mobilize financial resources, mainly from the mobile network operators.
Said. I just wanted to rehash. Thank you very much. All right, Kafui, you have also a minute and a half. Just tell us what you do and how you connect the unconnected on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Kafui, Prebbie. I'm CEO for TechAide. So the story of Richard Kutuapia, we all see the challenges that befall every community. But all of us who are doing IT are not interested in solving those real problems. So the lab that you saw in the video was built by TechAide. And this is how we connect the unconnected. We go through a process to identify a community that actually needs help. And we're a tech company. We're not an NGO. We do have a financial model that identifies the key partners that are interested in social investment, like Richard. And we create a partnership and we go and execute the work. And we execute with the best technologies that you can find. So in Richard's 48-seater lab that we constructed, there are low voltage computing solutions. There are systems that protect the computers, that even at every restart, they clean up the computers. There's a small device that we've put there that simulates internet and has thousands of educational materials, such that his lab can behave like an internet-enabled lab, and the children can browse through a browser as if they're browsing the internet. So if we're not connecting the unconnected at TechAide, then what else are we doing? This is what we do. And in close to a decade, we've built over 100 labs nationwide. And if you go to edulabforall.com, which is the site where we document everything we're doing in Ghana, you would see all the locations that we've installed labs across the country. We set up a couple of years ago to connect the people who need it most. So we don't like to work in urban areas. We like the places who need the connection. And he knows that he's my friend. He does the urban work. And we are talking about partnership. I'm taking his content and putting it on the Asanka platform, and we're taking it to the rural areas. This is my passion. So at TechAide, we only try to solve the problem for those who need it most. And we've created partnership with international organizations, local banks, to do a financing model for the people who need it most. And the community doesn't have to pay back, but the model is robust enough that the funder finds the social investment and the output of that investment very, very interesting. And they fund the project. His lab is the third we've done in what we call the Nyamransa model, which is funded by the Helping Africa Foundation and the Friends of Nyamransa Foundation. We did one in Nyamransa. It was extremely successful with the community. We did one in Bawe here, and we did a third one in this lab. The fourth one is happening from January in Chobu School, which is in Tamale, and it's going to have over another 5,000 children providing or having access to the lab. This is what we love to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kafui. That's a very detailed brief. I'd like to push this to Cecil also. Yeah.
So this guy is making me look like a fat guy. Anyway, so this is how we try to connect the unconnected. So if I go to Association International or I go to Achimota, right, and I have a friend who goes to Telecommunications Secondary or Taviepe, you know what I mean? and we all write the same exams. Who's going to pass? All right? Because the teachers don't want to go teach at GIFEC. They don't want to go teach at Telecommunications. They don't want to teach at Swiss International or what, Achimota, because that's where they're in the urban areas. Like, yeah, I like to be in the urban cities, right? So what we're trying to do is, so that teacher who is very, resourceful, who's got all the necessary opportunities, and he has opportunity to teach people better than the one who didn't really want to teach at all because he couldn't get into university to do medicine, so he took teacher training like that and became a teacher and he's posted to Jelgobe. We want to take the content that is taught in Association International, Achimota, present that level of content and make it accessible to my friend in Jelgobe for free on our platform, right? So then, of course, we need the two of you to make sure there's internet there so that he can actually get access to that same high quality content so that when we are going to write the same exam, it's a fair battle. You see my point? Because the failure rates we have today are mostly the ones who have access to quality education, they pass. So we get, last year was 78% failure rate. It doesn't mean they are dumb. The only problem is they don't have access to that same quality, right? So if we can create some level of equity, if it's math, the same standard, same quality, let's all have access, then we can write a fair exam. But then of course, our challenge has been getting the connectivity in terms of internet and then maybe devices for them to get access to our content. So like Kafui said, we're trying to create those relationships. We're in GIFEC, yesterday I spoke about relationship with GIFEC. Great things to get it going. So I don't know how Akosia got the three of us on this panel, but this is what we're also trying to do to connect the unconnected.
I hope there's no collusion.
Okay. I don't know how to do that, but that was very interesting to get all of us.
Thanks a lot, Cecil, for that brief as well. So, one of the things when we have panel discussions, usually the panelists are going to have a conversation with the moderator and then we share some ideas. No, in this case, we didn't do anything like that. So everything is unscripted and you are blessed if you're in this room right now because I know they can't say anything that we've rehearsed behind closed doors. Now, I was looking at a report, the GSMA Mobile Connectivity Index, which kind of grades each market, over 170 countries, grades each market in terms of enablers that provides connectivity and all that. And you've seen Ghana, in terms of infrastructure, Ghana is winning first for, I think that Mauritius, South Africa, and I think Rwanda is ahead of us in terms of infrastructure that exists in the market. So we're not bad at all. I mean, particularly for Ghana, we're not bad at all in terms of infrastructure that exists within our market to provide the right connectivity for our people. But obviously there's a gap because the infrastructure could be there, but it could just be sitting there. So my first question is to you, Zach. I know that you are close to the policymaker, so you could try as much as possible to think for the policymaker in that sense. But it will be good to share with us, what do you think that we could do more than we are doing now to create that enabling environment that gets the existing infrastructure that we have here to good use? Because usually we tout in speeches, and I like when I listen to the tech guys, I like the way they say that I have done. Usually from the policy side, we hear, we will do. So it's impressive when I have these conversations. So it'll be good to know what you are doing or what you intend to do for the policy guy, to just let us know how do we intend to create that enabling environment to be able to put the existing infrastructure to good use so that we could have a lot more people connected.
Well, that's a difficult one. You can imagine asking the director of operation of an agency and the ministry to speak about policy issues, but I'll try.
Please try.
I'll try. What I would first thing that I would say is about tax incentives. I'm saying this from the perspective that between 2004, when the fund was launched, and 2016, the fund using its own financial resources to extend telecommunication coverage into the country, we're only able to do about 72 communities, provide them with connectivity, and that is in the areas of voice and data services. Then come last year, we
This
said
was
that
14 years.
yes.
Yeah.
So we decided last year that we would have to look at another way of doing it. So the fund actually is chaired by the Minister of Communication in terms of governance. So the board gave us approval that we could look at other ways of doing what we were doing, but doing it differently. And so we decided that we'll talk to the telecom chambers and its members and look at how we can bring on board government's intervention. So this intervention then came in the area of tax waivers. All right, so we partnered one MNO, for example, and all the tax in the areas of importation tax import duties were all waived. Then we went to talk to the assemblies because the greatest challenge that another challenge that the mobile network operators they face is when it comes to land acquisition. The communities necessary where they acquire sites to build, they have to pay them a lot of money, and every now and then issues of rent is a big problem. So we had to partner with the assemblies, the local authorities, and so that is an area that government also has to look at. That look, there are areas that do not have coverage. We need to extend coverage. We need to stimulate the usage of whatever infrastructure is put in place. But let's also give the community some kind of incentive. And so, Electricity Company of Ghana came on board. EPA is an area that we also look at. And then the assembly, when it comes to aviation also, they look at that also for us. And so between 2017 and as we speak now, within almost 2 years, we have been able to do 400 sites as against 72 in 40 years. And so that is an area that I think that when we do that, we will be able to cover a lot more communities and also stimulate the use of the facility that we have.
Thank you very much, Zach. I like the context where you came from, because like I said, we have these conversations amongst ourselves all the time, but on the ground, you find practical examples of individual dealings or sometimes group dealings that prevent connectivity from spreading the way we would like to see them spread. I was talking a couple of weeks ago about a community in East Legon where I don't want to, if I say it, I'm sure people might start knowing exactly what I'm talking about, but this is somewhere around ANC, and there's a religious center around there, so you could figure out whether it's a mosque or a church. And basically what they did is they have what we call jammers, or rammers. These devices are put in there to divert signals away from the idea was to divert signals coming into the religious center, so that when people come in to pray, they don't have access to network. So this is a private person basically just diverting telecom signals. So what happened is that the equipment, the illegal equipment they were using, wasn't just doing that for the church. It means all the back, because we provide the signal in a radius. So if it's going in a radius and then you block it this way, it means that everybody within that side of the pie doesn't get access. So you see, people live in East Legon, around ANC Mall, and they say we don't get connectivity. And it's like, what's happening? But the service has been provided, and this is being done by a private party. And when we did the investigation, and we finally found out that somebody's using a device in here, the guy started saying that this religious place is another country I don't want to mention, but basically the fact that it's almost like we should treat it like an embassy. We can't go inside and grab the device. You're like, what's this? So this is a practical example of the issues that we have. There's so many of them with assemblies. When in the assemblies, if you run around the communities, I do a lot of these community engagements. And when we bring in water, we do a derba. We bring in electricity, we do a derba. The chief sits down, we dance, we shake, we do merry. And then when it's telecommunications, we don't treat it like that. It's like, hey, telco's number. let's kill them, let's milk them. So you have a situation where as an assembly, there's a practical example again in Swidru, where the assembly is saying that, okay, so for every 1 kilometer of fiber, we will charge you 2,500. And I'm like, on what basis? And we're having to negotiate. And over 7 months, the project is on standstill. And people need the access, people need the connectivity. And so we need a lot of these practical conversations, even away from us, even down there, where people need to appreciate that I'm coming to provide access. One of the things that Access has done for us today is we don't see a lot of the migration. When I was growing up as a little boy, I used to hear people are coming from the north in droves, in buses, coming down to Accra because the action is in Accra. Today, because of connectivity, people can stay in the north and do business in Accra without necessarily having to come down here. So that's the question for which I asked about enabling environment. How do we support businesses that intend to do practical rollout, to make the infrastructure available for our people to use them, to have the freeway to be able to do them, so then we can all benefit from it. Okay, so I'm going to come to you, Cecil. I want you to answer a question I just put together. That what are the barriers within the tech space? I know don't even just start with APIs because I've heard that a lot. So what are the barriers within the tech space today, and what steps do we need to take within that space to address these barriers, to ensure that everybody's getting connected?
From where I sit, I think it's a mindset problem. It's not about, because there are areas where they have all the masks, they have all the fiber, and they don't even know they have fiber. You know, I like to be real. I was in Ho, I go to see my grandmother very often. So I was in Ho and the municipal assembly, right? So I went to visit somebody there, and I kind of tripped on, what's this? I was actually standing on a fiber port, I'm like, yo, where's fiber here? And nobody knows this fiber port there. So I'm like, who brought the fiber here? So it was part of the Eastern Corridor, whatever. And I'm like, oh my, do you know what this is? This is like the whole world in your palm. They're like, oh, these people, they are not even serious. Just put this thing here, we don't even know what it's doing. I'm like, yo, do you get me? Because I do fiber to the home for people, for smart home connection. I make some good money out of that. So if there's fiber ports in the whole boy, that's a big business now.
Yeah.
But the guy doesn't know.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? It's the mindset. They just don't understand. So the greatest barrier we have is how we think. Forget everything else. Just how we think is the greatest barrier we have. If we can begin to understand or change the way we think about technology, connectivity, aviation, everything, and how we can benefit from it as individuals and as a community, you won't be having all these problems we're talking about. Yeah. So fundamentally, how do we psych people to understand that if I'm doing Eastern Corridor fiber, that farmer who carries his hoe, walking to farm, understand what it means that there's fiber coming to Eastern Corridor. And this is how I can become a billionaire of that. Most of the times you don't create the sensitization to that level. You just keep it at the policy level, the big man, very common here, what is a big man? So the big man level, we've done it, and then they will be in Johannesburg and New York and praising themselves they've done. But the guy you think you're helping, he thinks it's even a nuisance. Yeah. So if we can cross that barrier, which I think GIFEC is trying to do that in a lot of ways, involving the community, letting them own those projects, and clear that whole stereotype and perception, then we can make progress. Otherwise, trust me, you can give them, look, a skyscraper and they'll still hate you. So how do we, I don't have an answer, but how do we systematically change the way we think? Then our barriers will be disappearing step by step. Yeah. Oh, I get running for that fiber for.
No, so I like the point where you come from when you talk about barriers, because and the mindset barrier, it's like that. It starts from there. I was giving you just practical example of what happens in the market, and thankfully I've done a lot of community projects with GIFEC. I've been running around with Zach across the country over the last 6 years, 6-7 years, and you run into a community and then somebody tells you that the cell site there, we have to build these cell sites because you want to put an antenna up there, sometimes 80 feet up in the sky, so you could give a lot of people line of sight so they could see the signal. And then they say the cell site there, we don't want it. And I'm like, why don't you want it? So my children are getting malaria. And then I'm asking, but that's the tower, the metal tower, does it turn into a mosquito at night and bite your kids? You hear a lot of these things all the time. You hear malaria, you hear cancer. So we work with the Radiation Protection Institute under Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, who do a lot of these measurements to be able to ensure that the towers are emitting the right, the emissions are within the right limits and standards. So they'll tell you that the antenna is not emitting anything different from what your microwave is doing or your television set is doing. But yet there's a mindset. So 80 feet up in the sky is just a little antenna up there. What are you doing there? I told somebody say, I told you a witch should be worried that at that level, at that height, it's only a witch that should be worried. But we're worried on the ground that this is really affected, and it's a mindset thing. So many communities where people have used the legal system, we're having to have a lot of court issues pending. I think I have about, my desk, I have about close to 200 communities where there are agitations and people have gone to the court, secured an injunction. We don't want them to put the tower in our community. Okay, so how do you want the service? Oh, we want to get the service, but we don't want the tower. But that's the only way I can provide the connectivity, to you. And I'm talking sometimes not even in the rural communities. These are East Legon, Santio, that area, all that side they're going, you're having to deal with people. I'm talking middle class people. You have to engage them. And we have protocols to entering these markets, but still even after the engagement, sometimes I've seen issues where somebody is fighting because they wanted the tower in their compound because they'll be able to get some rent. But the other guy got it. So because of that, he's fighting it with the legal system. But you also want to put it in this side because you know that's the best spot based on the coordinates that you're picking to provide the connectivity to the people. And these are practical issues that we are having to deal with. But I'm coming to you as well, Kafui. Somebody's talking about mindset, somebody's talking about tax waivers. I want to find out from you, how do we make local content and how do we improve its relevance? Because it's obvious from the conversation we are having here that the infrastructure exists. And let's not be oblivious of the fact that if we do not use the existing infrastructure, the operators or the private guys are not going to invest further, because we need to make use of the excess capacity that we find within the market so that they can make some genuine business case out of it to be able to get more funding to do further rollouts, because the infrastructure exists. So how do you think we could basically go beyond a bit beyond Facebook and WhatsApp? What kind of relevance do you believe that on the local scene that we could provide to make this existing infrastructure relevant?
Okay, thank you, Derrick.
Yeah.
I think one of the drivers of internet or connectivity is actually content. And why are we all using WhatsApp? It's content.
Yeah.
Why are we all getting online? It's content. It's either somebody is sharing a picture which you like, you want to see. Somebody is sending a message you love to read. Somebody is sending a video that you love to watch. So the connectivity is actually driven by the content. One of the reasons why we don't find people also interested in having access to the content is relevance. It's lack of relevance. So the typical scenario, in working in all the regions across Ghana, where we've set up all these technology labs for communities, we see people not using the labs as much as we wish because there's not enough content. So the next step we did was, before we took those technology solutions into those communities, we made sure we had a lot of content on the computers before they went. Now, you see people there either watching videos, taking past questions, printing them out, and doing different things because of the content. Now, even with the smallest device, which is the Asanka that I showed you, has even content that they can update. And the only reason why people are adopting and using it in schools and homes, it's just because of the relevance of the content. There's ebooks, there's videos, there's past questions and things that they would love to learn and love their kids at home to learn. So I think relevance is key. That anytime we produce this content, either we put it on the cloud, on the local cloud that GIFEC and Cecil are working on, or that we're working on, is the relevance of the content. So I think it's very important that we work backwards. See what the people need. Sometimes we techies are very fond of the infrastructure, forgetting that the people want a specific content. So in a rural community, you may go put as much the network there. But if you could put a local system in place where they could access content for free, which is some of the smart cities that have been there putting free Wi-Fi hotspots in some of these communities, what drives the people to go there is the content. And I think relevant. So in terms of the communities, we should see what the people want, go backwards, re-engineer what we want to put in that content before we make it available. Otherwise, the networks will still be there and they will still be unconnected. But once there's relevance, there's the connection.
Thank you, Kafui. That's a very good one. I was outside somewhere, hiding somewhere in Africa this year, and I saw a company. I'm sure some of you might have heard of Ineza Education, and I met these very fantastic, I think Kenyans, right? And they were talking about. They said at the conference they were like, we are serving Ghana, and I said, how? What content? And then they talked about how they have past questions from Ghana and they're providing relevant content. And I thought it was too vague. So after the conference, I took them to the side and I said, how many people are signed up? He said, 4 million. I said, huh? He said, yeah, 4 million Ghanaians are using the application. So relevance has been some. I want to be excited when I log on to WhatsApp App Store or something. When I log on to App Store or Google Play Store, and I see Ghanaian apps, it would really excite me. And I believe that we need to be able to get to that point where our developers themselves are putting the right things out there so that they look relevant beyond just the markets that we find us. I know Cecil wants to chip in.
Let me put this in perspective. So the reason why it looks like everybody is going around the content issue is that it's expensive. It costs an arm and leg to produce content. Content is not easy to produce, right? So 75% of my pen rate is content, and I'm not a content company. Do you get my point?
Yep.
Now I have technology that can help content providers. They can't afford to even build their own content, so I have to spend my own money, build their content, and hope that people will pay for it, and I can make my money back and share the rest of the money with them. Nobody wants to spend on content, but everybody wants content. It's expensive. Let me give you a very practical scenario. If you're doing a 2-minute radio jingle, how much does that cost you? You need to pay a script writer. Yes, you need to pay a voiceover artist, and if you get fancy and choose some kind of voices, I'll mention my friend, you know, get angry, but Laryea's voice, you can't pay. You can't get angry, that is my friend, so fine. Right? You have to pay. Then after that, you need to go to the studio, rent the studio, do the recording. Before you produce just a 2 minutes video, take that to a textbook. That's 200 pages.
Yeah.
And I have to do that. So I have content providers, like I have voiceovers, we do the illustration, do the virtual reality, and I put that up, and I say, pay me $1, and they are complaining, so it's free. Then I go to a board meeting, and my board chairman thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Do you get me? So if the telcos, right?
Yeah.
If they want their mask to be accepted without problems, tell them to produce content.
Are you saying?
I'm telling you got people. They listen to you a lot. So tell them if they can put maybe just 0.5% of their revenues in trying to create content that makes sense in that context, then maybe the resistance may reduce over time. Because I am burning a lot of cash to produce content that people can't even afford if I really want to get my money back fast.
So Cecil, in summary, you're saying that basically content will address a lot of the clients.
Content is key. Content is key, and it's expensive to produce. So let's spend some money on content right? Maybe if we're doing 10 million in infrastructure, physical hardware, right? Let's do maybe 2 million in content, and we can catch up with all this. Trust me, it will work.
That's like rotating the business model of the MNO.
They have
in
to.
a sense, because I'm giving you the access, but now I have to also now look for money to also try and get you to use the access I'm providing. Anyway, that's a very good one. Zach, you want to come in?
Just a second. I just want to chip in something that as much as we are talking about content and we are talking about infrastructure and everything like that, so we should also look at digital literacy. It's a very important, because you have the content, you have the infrastructure, but if people do not have the digital skills to use it, then everything is zero. So this morning when I came in, the MC was going around finding out from people the kind of apps that they use, and I was touched to hear somebody mention Kasahoro or something, and the gentleman said it's like a keyboard that you can download from the net on your phone, and you can type whatever in P, in Ever, in Dabani, in Gan. So if we are talking about digital literacy and talking about content, we should also look at how we can empower our people to consume what is produced, right? Yeah. If my grandmother in my holy village sees computer and she sees that people are using them, but then she is left out, then it's also another thing. So we should look at how we can bring all of them on board. Digital literacy.
Exactly. Let me just, this is just a yes or no question. Since you are a universal service fund manager, in that sense, and I give you some money every year, do you think, I don't give it to you in that sense though, but I put it somewhere you see. And do you think it's also fair that probably maybe the USF might probably want to be looking into the area where, because I know there are still some very good relevant applications, but for the developer, once they are done creating, even to market them, bring the onboarding process requires a lot of funding, a lot of advertising, marketing, branding around the whole thing that usually they struggle with. Kafui, you want to chip in before I finally come to the public?
Yeah, I think the key thing is what he said. If, GIFEC, and of course, we work together on the Alliance for Affordable Internet, where we're talking about 1 for 2 targets, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge always is the cost,
yeah.
Right? We've also tried on our platform to build just a game, and it costs over $5,000. We built one, we've stopped. It's costs. So if we can, through this process, as a way of finding to drive local developers here who are doing great stuff, with content and designs and graphic artists, this excellent work. We can drive this content through some of this funding scheme. I think that would be a great, thing to do. And Tech in Ghana conference, and I think that from here we should follow up with Derrick and GIFEC and Co, who have the resources also. I'm not putting on the spot, but that's the reality. To put 1% of that 1%, into content production and give these people and the people here opportunity to bring their skill set to bear. Let's see something come up next year from this, somebody who's built some great content. And let's see how we can showcase that at next year's.
Thank you very much, Kafui. It'll be good to have next year connecting the unconnected conversation, move beyond content and mindset issues. I believe it's been a very fantastic discussion with my friends here, and even beyond just the fact that there's just content and there's money to push the content, then the issue of relevance. So I think that there's just that fine balance. Let me just ask a question to make this point. How many of you use Ghana Post GPS? Okay, see, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, 6 year, 7 year. Okay, but we're all Ghanaians. I hope. There's a lot of white friends, and but there are a lot of citizens here. Okay, so there's that fine balance that even beyond the fact that you have the funding to push the product, the relevance of the product, and how we can keep driving it. So anyway, we're going to move into questions, and I'm going to take questions. I see some 2 hands here. I'm going to start from here. So your name, where you're coming from, and your question.
Hello, hi, good morning everyone. My name is Diogo. I'm from Ignitia. We provide weather forecast company here in Ghana. And
are you AccuWord as a competitor?
Sorry?
Are you AccuWord as competitor?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's
okay.
Okay.
So, this company took us like 10 years to develop their own algorithm. And we're talking about the content. We've been struggling, for example, dealing with MNOs, because it took us like 30% of the revenue. So we only have 30% of revenue. from what generates. So my question is, what actually the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications can do for the content producers actually there's in Ghana to help us on that. And you know, the service costs like 12 pesos a day, so it's very, very small. So if the revenue from the MNOs is so high for them, we cannot provide the service for them.
All right, any other? Yes, I see another hand here.
Hello, good morning. My name is Yusuf.
Okay,
with TechAide. My question has to do with, goes to Mr. Zakaria when he speaks about tech skills. When do we see our SHS, like we have general science as a subject, we have home economics as a subject, when do we see IT as a subject, a course that people will do? So they have subjects like HTML, PHP, JavaScript as subject, not doing elective IT or core IT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Amaka and I'm an artist. Mine is not a question, it's a suggestion. As I listen to all the speakers, what came to mind is that you have all these wonderful technological developments and things like that, but the question I want to ask is how much of all these is coming from our culture? Because if all our inventions spring from our culture as Ghanaians or as Africans, you will not have the problem you have with content, because you'll be producing from your culture and your people will naturally gravitate towards it. This is my suggestion.
That's a very good suggestion. Thank you very much, Amaka. Just because last night, I don't know if you listened to the speech, the lecture by Bernard at the city event. He talked about the fact that probably the media want to look at. We are currently changing our culture. Our culture is now being hung on foreign Brazilian soap operas. That everybody. I can't believe that some stations have a panel discussion after the soap opera, and it's like their associations and tag teams and different market women association for Kwando Siasnia and all those things, and they have these calls. How can we bring back how can we bring back Kwekwanansi? Some of the lessons that we grew up with. Kwekwanansi, if it can be modernized in such a way that our young folks can learn from some of the great fine lessons that came out of those old stories. I think it would be fantastic, and really we're losing out a lot of that area. I know Letty Arts is doing a lot of that. Letty, my friend Aaron, is doing a lot of that with the old, they're bringing all these Asanka, Accra arts and all these things. Yeah, trying to bring it back, but I think we need to do a lot more of that. So thanks, Amaka. Yeah, I see a hand there, yes?
Good morning. My name is Olanyo and I'm an entrepreneur. I want to ask, I see that there are a lot of technological inventions or developments happening in Ghana, but I want to ask the panelists, do we have enough of collaboration? Because I see that everybody is doing something, but
different
I don't see
silos,
this,
yeah.
yes, but I don't see the synchronization or like the collaboration coming. Do we have that collaboration coming in, or what do we think can be done to ensure that like we all collaborate so that the developments we are seeing in various sectors are all coming?
Thank you. We'll take that in our closing remarks as well. Any other before we bring this to a close? Any other? Okay. So I'm going to start with you, Cecil. Do your 1 minute, Zakaria. You have a question here you have to answer. So Cecil, you're going to close us with a 1 minute, yes?
So I'll just try to touch on 1 minute.
Sure.
So let me get to the culture thing, right? So the reason why you see all these foreign soap operas, right, on our screens is that it is expensive to produce local content. I'm going to go back to that because I live that every day. Everybody wants to see something local from our culture, all right? Ogbechuchu is coming, right? I try to do a VR of Ogbechuchu, and I have to go and pay $48,000 for virtual reality for Ogbechuchu. Who's going to pay me for that? If you come to Ogbechuchu Festival and ask you to pay $10 to have a VR experience in 1 hour, will you pay me? Then somebody has already done the Mexican street carnival in VR. So I'll come and show you Mexican Street Carnival in VR, which is already on YouTube at Ubechocho Festival for free or for $1, and you pay. So let's be real. Are we ready to invest in content production? If we get that correct, then we can start the content argument. You've gone digital, so anybody can own a TV station. And it costs you $40,000 to produce content, and he doesn't have it, and he's bought the airwave. So what does he do? He copy and paste. So even the best creativity is to put it in cheap. That's the best creativity. Yeah, it's costing a lot of money. So let's get back to the fundamental. Let's stop running away from the core of the problem. Who is ready to give me $48,000 to do a VR of Ubechocho Festival? And how many festivals do we have in Ghana? So times that. And then let's start talking. So that, I think that summarizes everything for me. Go and bring the money. Let's do it. Invest in your culture if you want to see it. Those guys are investing billions of dollars in their culture, and they're intimidating you with it. So wake up, invest in your own, and then you can go. So otherwise, your own road. So stay there, don't invest. You see.
Cecil, don't be scaring my audience. All right, Kafui.
Yeah, I mean, he said it. You know, the truth is that it's so expensive. The angel investor network that was supposed to be in Ghana to make available resources, you know, for the young people or people that we as CEOs or companies can't contract, the revenue is not there. And sometimes when you go out to seek international funding, and the aspect at which you want to use it for is for local market, there's no time. That's why there's a wave right now to try to bring a lot of people from Silicon Valley who are Africans to bring back and say, look, our companies are dying, the process is not coming up, the content is not coming because nobody's investing in this space. So it is reality, but I think gradually it's changing with all the ecosystems that are coming up in Nigeria, in Kenya, and so on and so forth. We're hoping, but the reality is content is pretty expensive to build. And therefore, unless we have the investment to do it locally, it will still be a challenge for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kafui. Before I come to Zakaria, I've been thinking about something. You know, yesterday I was having a conversation with my brother who lives outside in the UAE, and I was telling him that every time I come over, you have WhatsApp, you have all these applications, but in Dubai you can't make WhatsApp calls, iVideo, or unless you go through the techies like us, we're going through the VPNs and all that, but you don't do that. And he says, oh, they just allowed one 3 weeks ago. I said, which one is it? It says called Botim, B-O-T-I-M. So he says, download it, let me call you. So I downloaded it and he called me. And he says, well, I pay 50 dirhams for Botim every month. So, and I just looked up the company and I realized it's a company it's also from the States. It's from, I think, San Francisco or something. And so Botim basically goes to the UAE establishment. Basically, I'm sure he lives in Dubai actually, so he talks to them, and then I think they have a revenue share model which allows them to, the government now makes money from data calls. And I said, wow, this is exactly what I've been thinking WhatsApp should have done. I hope I won't get enemies by saying this, but I was just telling him that the vice president is my friend. What if I told him that let's block WhatsApp calls so that we could get Botim to come, or maybe WhatsApp would be willing to. He says, do you want them to lose an election? So these are practical things that we find ourselves in, because right now everybody's enjoying it and it's going for free. You can make a call for like 2 pesos on data a minute, while you'll be costing you 11p average on voice. And the differences are there, we are all enjoying it, but it comes at a cost. And so with the issue of the content, what if probably maybe we had a complete government machinery, or government steps its foot in there and saying that maybe we're going to allow this particular hour in the country for any external content like this, like soap operas in this country. Let's fill the other spots with local content and push it as an agenda. We could actually, sometimes the tougher decisions are difficult, but you know, in countries where it's a one-man show, you know that they can take those decisions because there's no election at risk, but they get results. And it's important that we need to have some of these conversations, and very, very dispassionate conversations. It's tough, but you might have to push it actively to ensure that the local content is not drowned completely. Zakaria.
Well, let me take your seat and you take my seat. Would your members be happy if government decided that OTT should be taxed?
Would they be happy?
Would your members be happy? In Uganda, OTT are already being taxed.
I can speak for
so
myself.
I'm sure one day it will.
I can speak for myself. So you can't tax OTT in that sense. Hang on, you can't tax it in that sense, because the point is, there's the same principle, same rules, conversation going on. If today all the mobile operators in this country have invested in as much as $6.5 billion, and somebody just develops an application that allows you to do what the mobile operator is doing, in that sense, how much are you going to tax them and compare it to what the operator is going to tax? So we can look at that conversation in terms of how do we want to price data? Should it be, if you do a data call, should it be synced in that same sense as a voice call? We can have that conversation.
Yeah, because I said I will take your seat. Because today,
you've taken it, I love it.
Yeah, if government decides that we are going to block WhatsApp, we are going to block that, and so let's develop a local app that will enable people, or the voting that you just mentioned, you would realize the very day, and the day after the government makes such a decision, the MNOs will complain because their traffic will go down. Your data traffic will go down, right? Yes. So you would complain. So that's something that we. But then my brother asked a question which I need to address. The ministry, GIFEC is a fund that facilitates ICT programs. We don't
get into the curriculum.
Get into the curriculum of education. Okay. So what we try to do is to partner agencies and ministries, talk to them to see how together we can work. And so eCampus will tell you they have a very good content, but as part of their deployment to cover more areas, what we decided to do with them is to go together to Ministry of Education, Curriculum Research, which now has a new name. We got to engage them, and it looks like there's the light at the end of the tunnel, because there was one particular hurdle that needed to be cleared, which we have cleared. We are only waiting for their response. And so very soon, eCampus, the educational content that also includes ICT, would be out there. GIFEC on our own, what we also try to do, as I said, is as part of the facilitation, is to engage entities that have the know-how. So we have partnered with iSpace and other companies in doing what we call coding for kids. We introduce children to basic ICT skills. They learn how to code. And once children learn how to code from that level, then the issue of content that we are all talking about is something that we foresee that in the future it will be a given for us as a nation. So, but then we are happy to work with any entity that is ready to do that. But with regards to which content should be put there in terms of syllabus, it's not within our remit as a entity, but then we can
Thank you very much, Zakaria. I think one of the things that the Ministry of Communications has been pushing actively, you see a lot of these girls in ICT conversation, you're seeing a lot of the push for coding to be added to the curriculum. And then the most controversial, but the one I love, is the fact that senior high school kids should be given access to use mobile phones, because it doesn't make sense to keep the phones away from them when they're in school, and then they'll go home and go use them. So how do we find that right balance to probably ensure that probably on campus, if they have even access, the access does not allow them certain level of, does not give them access to certain content, but it will only allow them educational content and keep them away from not doing what they should not be doing. So I think these conversations are pretty interesting, and we're looking forward to a country where we have established on this platform that the infrastructure exists. I believe that the gaps that we are faced with at this point is what to do with the infrastructure that exists, so that when we make very good use of this infrastructure, we can get the private guys and government putting more and more infrastructure so that we can keep growing this space. My name is Derrick, and thanks for being on our panel.
Thank you, Derrick.